Hello and welcome to Plus Pramesh e-Library. You are with me Supriya Sengal and we will be continuing with the last part of CSAT paper discussion of UPSC Prelims 2020. Okay, so we have covered till question number 54, which was the answer was D, and now we will start from question number 55. See, this is a pretty easy question. It is asking you how many pairs of natural numbers are there such that difference of their squares is 63. Suppose you have two natural numbers x and y, then difference of their square should be 63. This is x square minus y square, that means x minus y and x plus y should be equal to 63. See, how can you obtain 63? Either 21 into 3 or basically you can have 9 into 7, right? So you have to see that if you take suppose 21 and 3 and basically subtract and add them, so will anything work out? Or you can say, suppose if you take 12 plus 9, then what will happen? Suppose x is 12 and y is 9, then 12 minus 9 is 3 and 12 plus 9 is 21. So you are getting the answer as 63. So this is a possible combination, right? And then suppose if this is 9 into 7, so there also you can take suppose 8 and 1. So 8 minus 1 is 7 and 8 plus 1 is 9. So that will be 7 into 9, which is again 63. So how many pairs you have? You have 8 comma 1 and you have 12 comma 9. So these are two pairs. So answer is D. Okay. Then you come to question number 56. See, in question number 56, the question is saying that you have been given 4 fractions, 2 by 3, 3 by 4, 4 by 5 and 5 by 6. Okay, and then you are being asked that if you add 5 to both numerator and denominator, then which of the fractions will have a minimum change? See, the longest or lengthiest way of doing this question is find out these fractions first. So 2 by 3 will be somewhere around 0.67, right? Then you will find that 4 by 3 will be 0.75. Then 5 by 4 will be 0.8. And 6 by 5 will be 6 8 is 48, 20. 6 2 3 is 18, 20. 8.833. Now what you do is you basically make the new fractions by adding 5 in the numerator, 5 in the denominator. So this will be 2 plus 5 7, 3 plus 5 8. 3 plus 5 is 8, 4 plus 5 is 9, 4 plus 5 is 9, 5 plus 5 is 10, and this is 10 upon 11. Now you find out the new fraction. So this will be point, then this will be 8 8 is 64, so 4, 8 4 is 32, something like this. Then this will be point, 9 is 72, so there will be 80, again 0.88. Then here you will find it will be 0.9, and here you will find it will be 100. So 11 9s are 99, 1 and 0, 0.90 something. So you have to find where the minimum changes happen. See, from 0.6 to 0.8 you will find the change has been quite a lot. From 0.75 to 0.8 there is still a significant change, right? It is like somewhere around 0.1 something. Then it is also 0.1, but it is lesser than this one, and this you will find is the basically when you solve it you will find that this will be the minimum. Okay, 0.8 something you are getting, and then you go to 0.9. So what will be the answer? It will be D, 5 by 6. The point is, even if you don't want to do all this, okay, because this is a very lengthy method, always remember minimum change will be in the quantity which is the maximum. Okay, so maximum is 5 by 6, hence the minimum change will be also in the 5 by 6. So answer will be D. Then you come to question number 57, which is telling you a digit n greater than 3 is divisible by 3 but not divisible by 6. So you take any number which is divisible by 3 but not divisible by 6. Suppose 9. Okay. Now it is telling you which one of the following is divisible by 4. Suppose my n is 9, then 2n will be 18. Is 18 divisible by 4? Answer is no. So this cannot be the one. 3n will be 9 3s are 27. Is it divisible by 4? No. So 3n is also not the answer. Then what will be 2n plus 4? 2 into 9 plus 4. 9 2 is 18 plus 4 is 22. Is 22 divisible by 4? No. This is not the answer. What about 3n plus 1? 9 3s are 27 plus 1. 28. Is it divisible by 4? Yes. So answer is 3n plus 1. See, the point is you should know that you don't have to find what is n. You just have to see and put one value of n that is satisfying the given condition and see which one of the following is happening. Okay, so answer is D. Now come to question number 58. It is telling you that 1 liter of water weighs 1 kg. Okay, then how many cubic millimeters? So this is cubic millimeters of water will weigh 0.1 gram. Here it is nothing, just the conversion of units. Okay, just the conversion of units. And here you will find that you also have to use density of water, which is equals to mass upon volume, right? So you'll be using basically units, either you have to find in grams, so basically grams, and what will be the volume, suppose millimeter cube. Okay, so this is the conversion that you will be using. 1 gram is equals to 1 millimeter cube. And from here, when you solve and convert all these units, which is a pretty straightforward question, so you will get your answer as 100. Okay, so answer will be C. It is a pretty straightforward question, nothing you have to do, only conversion of units. Okay, and how will you convert? Using this density. Then you come to question number 59, which is telling you that a vessel full of water weighs 40 kg. Suppose this is a vessel which is full of water. When it is full, its weight is 40 kg. Then it is telling you if it is 1/3 filled. Suppose I make 3 parts, 1, 2 and 3. So now I am saying it is 1/3 filled. Then it weighs 20 kg. Okay. So what is the weight of the empty vessel? See, I know that these two parts together should weigh 20 because the whole vessel weight when it was full was 40, right? So now what will happen? If this is 20, that means each part is weighing 10, right? If each part is weighing 10, that means this is also 10. And what is just the weight of the empty vessel? 10 kg. Okay, so this is a common sense question and the answer will come out to be A. Okay, then you have question number 60. Question number 60 is see, either you can use basically the trick to solve this question, or if you don't want to use the trick, then it's a pretty straightforward question. You have to, this is very similar to the monkey question, where monkey is trying to jump on the pole and then it is slipping down again, then it jumps and then it goes down again. Similar is the case with the frog, where it is saying that frog has to basically climb this 4.5 meter deep well. Okay, and every time it is jumping, it is jumped 30 centimeter ahead, but it falls 15 centimeter behind. So ineffective, he is actually climbing only 15 centimeter. Who? He? Frog. Okay, suppose what is happening, he climbed 30, went back 15. So now how much did he climb in one jump? Only 15 centimeter. Then again you will find he from here he climbed 30, but again fell back to 15. Then what will happen? Again how much he climbed? 15 centimeter. So with one jump he is actually having 15 centimeter, right? So how many jumps will have to take? See, logically you should divide 4.5 by 15, or you should divide basically 15 by 4.5. Okay, so what you will end up getting is, okay, see, oh sorry, it's centimeter and it's meter, right? So basically it is 450 and divide by 15. So you will find it just come out to be 30. But the point is, it will be 1 less than the 30 jumps. So answer will be 29. Why? Because, see, actually you have to subtract that first jump, okay? Because you have already included that it has jumped 15 centimeter from there, okay? So that is why what will be the answer? Because actually what's happening, suppose you start from here, in the 30th jump what is happening, he's, you know, he has climbed out of the well and then coming back 30, which is not the case, right? So one jump lesser than that, which will be 29. So answer will be 29. Got it? Then you come to this question number 61, which is about a passage, and it is telling you how potatoes basically traveled from South America to the European country, which was the Ireland, and how basically soon these potatoes become the staple food of that particular area. And in these potatoes there was a fungal strain that spread around, like, you know, a deadly fungal strain that spread in 1845, destroying all the potatoes in its path. Okay, so now it's asking you what is the critical message of the passage. See, if you look at the BCD options, what are they saying? As a staple food of country, tuber crops like potato cannot replace cereal crop, which is wrong, because here it is given that how you know, potato replaced cereal crops as a the staple food. So the B is not the correct option. Then you have C, some of the fungal infections of plants cannot be prevented or stopped from spreading across the large areas. No, it's not the case, because nowhere in this passage have they written that. And then relying on the homogeneous food sources not desirable. Obviously not, nothing is mentioned like this. So answer will be statement A. Then you come to question number 62, which is coming from this passage, which is talking about India and its malnourishment. It is talking how basically India has so many malnourished children, how there is a problem of stunting, how this has caused permanent damage to children, and how basically it's going to affect their earnings when they become adults. Okay. Now the passage is asking you which is the most rational and practical implication. Okay, see, the point is many of the people have confused between A and B here, but the point is, see, in malnourishment, always remember three things: availability, accessibility, affordability, quality. Then it is about the balanced diet, and last is about the immunization, vaccine, and your basically wash techniques. So hence you will find that PDS will not be the answer. 2, 3, 4, 5 statements will be correct. So answer would be B. Then you come to passage 3, which is about the Pusa-Harar variety of the pulses. Okay, where it is telling you that how this variety is going to have a higher yield, and how basically the straw, the remaining part of this, this can be mechanically harvested, and the remaining part, the straw of this pulse variety, can be plowed back into the field, and this will give you, this is easily decomposable. It will also be helpful for plants because it's going to improve the soil quality and all that. Now it's asking you what is the most rational inference. So obviously you will find that statement 5, nothing like this has been mentioned. So obviously you can eliminate this. So if 5 is eliminated, these two are gone. And now you have to just look at the few statements. So pulse cultivation causes less pollution as compared to paddy cultivation. Yes, because there is lesser chances of stubble burning. So statement 2 is right, and hence C is the option. See, that is the whole trick of solving the passage. You don't have to read everything. Just see the see the statements first, these one, and see the options, and see which statement you can eliminate, 2 statements that you can eliminate to actually come to the right answer. Then you come to passage 4, which is basically passage for question number 64. In India, authorities always look to store the maximum amount of water in reservoirs, and how basically you have to have a little empty reservoir before monsoon starts, so that during the monsoons water can be filled in those reservoirs. Okay, then it is also telling you how basically in India what is happening. We are storing maximum amount of water because we want to produce hydroelectricity. So it is asking you what are the following assumptions. So obviously you will find that second is right. So this is out of the question. And third is role of dams in India is underestimated. That is true. So third statement is also right. And the only option having 2 and 3 is D. So answer is D. Okay. So 64th answer is D. Then you come to the next question, which is 65, which is talking about economic liberalization, and how this economic liberalization was due to the problems that India was facing, but not because people wanted it. Okay, it's also telling that how this economic liberalization had its own limitations, and because of which now we are facing problems of poverty, jobless growth, and inequality. Okay, apart from this, it's saying that there are 4 crises: agriculture, infrastructure, industrialization, and education, which are constraining the future prospects, and we have to basically work on these 4 crises to have a meaningful development. Now it is asking you that what is the most rational and logical inference of this particular passage. See, first one is pretty straightforward. It is telling you it is essential to rethink and redefine the economic role of state in the quest of development, which is true, because somewhere it's telling you that how economic liberalization or any economic growth, the role of state has to change. And second statement is saying that India has not made effective implementation of its policies in the social sectors, nor made sufficient investments in them. Nothing like this has been said, so answer would be A. Then you come to question number 66, which is talking about India's economy needs to be greatly integrated with the global economy so as to create the large number of jobs. Nothing like this has been said. And economic liberalization would cause large economic growth. No, that is a problem that we were facing. So this statement is also wrong, and answer would be D. Okay. Then you come to question number 67, which is about the service tax and the discounts that a person might be getting. And what they have done is only change the order. First you are giving discounts of 10%, 20%, and then putting service tax of 10%. Then in second case you are giving 20% discount, then 10%, and then levying a service tax of 10%. And the third case you are putting first a service tax and then you are giving discounts. So the question is asking that are you in which of the following discount options basically you will find that customer is benefiting the most. That means which of these options the customer will pay the least amount. The answer is that all these options he'll have to pay the same amount, because when you calculate, suppose you take a article's price to be 100. Okay, so first of all you give them a discount of 10%. That means you reduce rupees 10, so it will be 90 rupees now costing. Then again you give a 20% discount, so the 20% would be 18 rupees. So minus that you will get what? 90, 80, 72. Okay. and after that you will find and then pay a service tax of 10%. So add 10% of 72 would be 7.2. So plus 7.2 would come out to be 79.2. Now this is the first part that you are getting. Now come to second one. You again started from 100 rupees. First discount is 20%, so that means now the article would be costing 80. Then again you give a 10% discount, so reduce 8 rupees from it, that would be 72. And then you put a 10% tax, that will be 72 plus 7.2, which is again 79.2. And then in the third case, first you are putting the service tax. So 100 plus 10% of service tax would be 10 rupees. So 110 is the cost. Now out of that you give first successive discount of 20%. So 110, 20% would be 22 rupees. So subtract 22 rupees from it. This will be 10, 10 and 2. So this will be 88 rupees. And from 88 again you give a discount of 10%. So that means you subtract 8.8 rupees. So what you get is 79.2 again. So that is why I am saying what you get is the option number D, that all three options are equally good for customer. Okay, these questions are really easy. All you have to do is just your basic math should be very clear. Okay, then you come to question number 68, which is about you have been given that GHI is 1578. You have been given DEF is 912. Now this question, I took some time to actually solve this question because nothing was matching. See, actually if you do A, B, C, D, D comes at 4th place, E comes at 5th place and F comes at 6th place. But what is given here is 912. Then what I did was I divided 912 by 456 and identified this comes out to be 2. Then suppose you have GHI, so G is 7, H is 8 and I is 9. Okay, and if I divide 1578 by 789, you will find I again get 2. So basically the point is, if you have to find what will be A, B, C, it should be 1, 2, 3. Correct? But it is not 1, 2, 3. Why? Because you have to multiply it by 2. So it will be 2, 4 and 6. So answer would be D. Okay. What will be the answer? D. Okay. Then you come to question number 69. This is also pretty easy. All you have to do is see what is the missing term. See A, B. So this will be M and N. Then it is C and E. That means there is a gap of D. So N, O and this will be P. Then you have P, Q, R and S. So this will be G, H, I and J. Right? Because same number of letters should be missing. And then Q, R, S, T and then U. That means 3 letters. So I, J, K, L and M. So answer would be N, P, J, M. So answer would be D. Then you come to question number 70, which is about the largest number among the following. See, first of all, you should know that if anything is raised to power minus, that means you have to just inverse the number inside. So that means this would be actually 2 raised to power 6, this would be 4 raised to power 3, this would be 3 raised to power 4 and this will be 6 raised to power 2. Now all you have to do is just multiply. 2 raised to power 6 will be 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 2. That means 2 multiplied 6 times. So 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8, 8 2s are 16, 16 2s are 32 and 32 2s are 64. Then what will be this? This will be 4 into 4 into 4. 4 for the 16. 16 4s are 64 again. What will be this? 3 into 3 into 3 into 3 4 times. So this will be 3 3s are 9. 9 3s are 27. 27 3s are 81. And what will be this? This will be 6 into 6, which will be 36. So now out of all these quantities, which is the biggest? 81. So what will be the answer? C. Okay. Then you come to question number 71. This is also following a passage. So the passage is about bank credit to the industrial sector and how this bank credit has been shrinking, and this shrinking is creating problems for the economy. It is telling you how this incomplete reform that started in 1991, okay, and the failure of setting up a resolution corporation for banks is affecting the economy, and how banks should be allowed to be set up and also to fail, right? And basically it is telling that how weak loss making banks continue to need more capital. Now it is asking you what is the most logical inference from this above passage. See, it is a fact that India lacks the institutional mechanism to deal with the failure of the banks, which is written here that we don't have a resolution corporation to deal with the failure of the banks. So answer would be C. Then you come to question number 72. India has tremendous potential for solar energy, and it is talking about how basically we need to stop burning fossil fuels to ultimately meet our energy needs. But it is also telling that how renewable resources are really costly right now, how India is on its path for achieving this 33% reduction in emission target, and how basically this to achieve this target, India is actually pushing towards a gas-based economy. Okay, and so now the question number 72 is about what is the most logical and rational inference from this particular thing. See, actually, the most logical reference is that that renewable resources right now in the market may be too costly. Okay, and then the question number 73 is about governments often providing inefficient and costly subsidies for technologies that may not be ready for the future. Okay, and then it is telling you India's commitment shall be on the basis of gas-based economy. No, not only on the basis of gas-based economy, but also on the basis of renewable energy. And nothing like this has been said that government is giving subsidies or anything, because nothing has been said about subsidies here. So answer would be D. Okay. Then you come to question number 64, which is about genome editing, and it is telling you how genome editing is different from genome modification, where editing is only about changing a gene, which is only about changing a gene in that particular plant itself, rather than putting one gene from one plant to another. Understood? And how basically molecular scissors are used to actually cut and precisely and repair those genes, and mostly it is done to protect the plant from particular diseases. Now it is asking you that these statements have been given. So first statement is genome editing does not require transfer of genes. That is right. Through genome editing, the chosen genes can be altered precisely in a manner, which is also true. So answer would be C. Okay. Then you have many people understand the connection between solid waste management and health in terms of the consequences of the heaps that are formed, but it is also telling you how this unscientific solid waste management is related to the poor drainage, and how this solid waste is choking our drains, which is ultimately becoming water breeding grounds for water mosquitoes and also spreading waterborne diseases. So obviously now this is pretty straightforward. Now what is happening, that in India solid waste management should be integrated with the maintenance of drainage and sewage networks. So what is the answer of 75th question? It is C. Then you come to question number 76, which is talking about article number 25 about freedom to practice, profess and propagate your religion, but it is subjected to what? Public order, morality and health. And then it is also talking about the other articles mentioned in the fundamental rights chapter, which is part 3, and talking about right to equality and right to equal protection of laws. And then it is asking you question number 76, which is the what is the most logical inference from the above passage. See, the above passage is actually telling you that religious freedom under the constitution is open to state intervention. Why? Because of this part, subjected to public order, morality and health. Okay, so what is the answer of 76? It would be B. Then you come to question number 77. This is pretty easy question. This is a permutation question. It is telling you, suppose you have 5-letter word called Delhi, and now you fix the first and the last position, and you have to fill these 3 places. So now 3 places with 3 letters. So what can come in this place? Either E, L or H. So that means 3. What can come? Suppose now if we fill E, then what can come here? L or H. So obviously you have 2 options here, and then what is the option here? 1. So that means 3 into 2 into 1, which is 3 factorial, or 6 ways in which you can get these different 5-letter words combination. So what will be the answer? Answer would be D. Okay, 6. Okay, then you come to question number 78. It is talking about how a bottle contains 20 liters of liquid. Okay, suppose you have 20 liters of liquid. Now you will liquid A. Then it is telling you 4 liters of liquid A, okay, is taken out of it and replaced by the same quantity of liquid B. Then again, now what is happening? There is a mixture, right? Now you have how much? So if you take out 4 liters of A, how much is remaining? 16 liters of A, and now 4 liters of B is in this mixture. Okay, so total quantity is 20, but out of this 4 is B and 16 is A. Then it is telling you that again 4 liters of this mixture is taking out. Okay, so 4 liter of this mixture is taken out and replaced by the same quantity of the B. Okay, that means you take out 4 and now you give more 4 liters of B. So it is asking you what is the ratio of the quantity of liquid A to that of liquid B in the final mixture. All you have to do is first of all see the what is this 4:16. This is 4:1. That means in the mixture you have 4 units of A and 1 unit of B. Okay, so if you replace basically 4 liters of mixture, if you take it out, then you will find what is happening. If you take out 4 liters of mixture, okay, then the if I do basically 5 parts to it, then 4 by 5 parts will be of A and 1 by 5 parts will be of B. Okay, so you will find what will happen. See, ultimately what is happening is, so then again you replace this with, see, actually you replace this mixture again with the 4 liters of B solution. Okay, so now how much is the remaining quantity? So in this mixture you will find, if you have taken out, you have actually replaced 4 units, and then in total you have replaced 4 units, and you will find that what are the units of B replaced? 3, right? And then again you are doing the same, so it will be 4 square upon 3 square, that will be 16 upon 9. Okay, this is a typical mixture and alligation question. So I would say that you need to have a fair idea about this, because actually how this works is, suppose you have something and then you replace it by another thing, you find the ratio, and if you do it again, then you just square it. If you do it one more time, and then you just cube it. This is a short trick to solve the question, and the answer you will get is 16 by 9. Then you come to question number 79, which is the average score of a batsman after its 50th inning was 46.4. Okay, that means you had 50 innings, and after 50th innings, so total score divided by 50 was 46.4. Okay, then it is saying after 60th inning, that means see, total of 50 innings will be coming out to be 46.4 into 50 plus 10 more innings divided by 60, your average is coming out to be 2.6. Okay, so sorry, your average score increases by 2.6, so 2.6 plus 46.4. So now you can get the average score of these 10 innings, right? How will you get it? You just multiply and solve this part. So this will be 2.6, so 10, 16 to 8, 9, 49. Now this is 49 into, so this will be 46.4 into 50 plus something will be 49 into 60. Okay, so what you do is, it will be 49 into 6 minus 464 into 5. 5 for the 20, 5 for the 30, 32. 5 for the 20, 22, 2230, and this will be 49 into 60, 6 9s are 50, 4, 6 for the 24, and 5 is 2940. When you subtract this, you will get 710, and how much will you get? Just a minute. 9 6 are 54, 24 and 29, correct. And how much are you getting here? 5 4 are 20, 5 6 are 30, 5 6 are 30, 32, 5 4 are 20 and 23, right? So you will find that what you're getting somewhere 2320, right? So what you're getting is 620, and when you divide it by 10, you will get 62 as the answer. Okay, 620 divided by 10, because you have to get the average score of the last 10 innings. So this will be 62. So answer would be C. Okay, I'm pretty much solving every maths question here, so that you know how to solve that particular question. And then we come to finally the last question of this particular CSAT paper, which is question number 80, which is asking you, as a result of 25% hike in the price of rice, suppose the price of rice per kg is suppose P rupees. Then you are saying 25% it has risen, so now the price will be 1.25 times of P, right? If the price was P, person was able to purchase Q quantity. Now it is saying that person is able to purchase 6 kgs less. So this will be Q minus 6 kgs, and for how much rupees? For 1200 rupees. So that means Q minus 6 kg multiplied by the price per kg will be 1200 rupees. Okay, and then it is telling you, asking you what was the original price of the rice per kg. Okay, all you have to do is just substitute this value, and you will find that you will get the answer. Okay, so finally when you solve this particular question, the answer that you will get is basically rupees 40. Okay, so it is asking you the original price. See, either they could have confused you by asking you what is the increased price. So they are not asking you the increased price. The original price is 40, so the increased price will be 25 times of 40, which will be 55522, so 10. So 10 rupees more, this will be 50 rupees. So the increased price would be 50, but the original price would be 40, and that is where people have made mistakes here, that they have marked 50, but it was asking for the original price, not the increased price. So answer would be 40 rupees. So with this we complete the 80 questions of CSAT paper. See, if I have to rate the CSAT paper for you guys, I would say that the comprehensions as compared to the 2019 CSAT paper were easier, they were shorter, and also they were more straightforward. If you have given to 2019 CSAT paper, you will realize that comprehensions were longer, they were more tricky, and the statements were very you will say very close to each other, so it was very difficult to say whether this is correct or this is correct. But in this year you will find the comprehensions were pretty straightforward. And regarding maths part, even maths part was much easier, because last year you will find there were a lot of graph questions, graph reading questions, pie chart, etc., which actually need you to study before. But here with the basic mathematics also, at least you could have attempted, I'm telling you, minimum 20 questions without having any prior any, I would say, degree in maths or such. Okay, like very basic questions of mathematics. So overall you need only 66 marks to clear the CSAT paper, and I'm really hoping that you guys can find this particular summary of CSAT paper to be useful. So the summary in Hindi of CSAT paper plus the GS prelims paper analysis is being covered separately in another video, and in those videos Lokinder sir is also covering that from where these questions have been asked, which is not being covered by any other institute so far. So please do watch Plus Pramesh E Library, and hope to see you again soon. All the best. Thank you.